A Rangkat sari commands attention the moment it enters a room. The eye is immediately drawn to the stark, contrasting color blocks moving across the silk. The term Rangkat literally translates to the blending of colors. Rather than placing a pattern over a solid background, the technique places multiple, distinct color blocks directly across the warp and weft of the fabric itself. This specific method arrived in Benares during the Mughal era. After centuries of refinement by local artisans, it stands today as one of the most rigorously disciplined handloom techniques produced in the region. This checklist scorecard, which we call the Rangkat identifier, outlines the 3 markers of a true woven piece. You need distinct multicolored segments, sharply defined block transitions, and a seamless weave leaving no loose threads on the back. Meeting those criteria means the garment relies on a mathematically precise architectural alignment built directly into the loom. Because that specific multicolor aesthetic is highly sought after, the market is currently saturated with options, all claiming the Rangkat name. This creates a confusing landscape for buyers. You will see accessible boutique prices sitting right next to astronomical luxury premiums for saris that look visually identical. That massive price gap exists because you are looking at entirely different production realities, specifically the grueling labor of authentic handloom construction versus much faster surface dyeing short sects. We are going to decode those structural differences, analyze how the base fabric alters your physical comfort, and map out exactly which Rangkat investment makes sense for your specific event. Paying a luxury premium without understanding how the garment was actually constructed means you risk overpaying for a surface-level illusion. The absolute gold standard of this craft is the traditional woven kadwa method. Creating complex geometric patterns on a traditional handloom is an intensely physical and unforgiving process. Before the warp is even set, master weavers have to mathematically calculate the pattern and dye the silk yarn in highly specific, measured segments. This matrix breaks down the structure. Woven kadwa uses pre-dyed yarn to produce an architectural pattern woven directly into the silk, leaving no loose threads on the back. Adding a time and cost row reveals the trade-off. A single misstep ruins the pattern, so one drape takes months, demanding an extreme premium. The primary alternative is table-dyed Rangkat, populating the second column. In this tradition, artisans stretch a plain woven sari completely taut across a 30-foot table, applying surface dyes entirely by hand using specialized brushes. Returning to the matrix, the inputs of a blank sari and brushes yield a soft, organic color transition with visible bleed-through on the back. Because it is much faster to produce, the cost is far more accessible. Table dyeing is a highly skilled artisanal craft in its own right. You simply need to ensure you are paying for surface dyeing and not being charged a hand-weaving premium. The next major purchasing decision is your base fabric, which dictates how the sari actually feels when worn. Pure silk kattan serves as the foundational baseline for traditional bridal trousseaux. It creates a dense, heavily structured, and incredibly rigid garment. This quadrant chart maps fabric weight against formality. Pure silk kattan sits firmly in the top right. It gives unmatched heirloom longevity and a striking silhouette, but physically exhausts the wearer over a long day. To solve that exhaustion, artisans adapted the technique for lighter fabrics, adding khadi chiffon, georgette, and organza to the lower quadrants. These lighter fabric bases yield a fluid, soft drape that breathes easily, allowing for completely unrestricted contemporary movement during long events. The trade-off here is a sacrifice in presence. You gain high comfort for extended wear, but you lose the stiff, commanding architectural hold of traditional heirloom silk. Your fabric selection is a direct compromise between capturing historical authenticity and maintaining your actual physical stamina during an event. Finally, owning a Rangkat means navigating severe styling constraints. By introducing multiple distinct color blocks, the sari inherently carries immense visual weight. It will dominate your outfit. This forces a strict rule for your blouse. You must utilize a solid secondary color drawn from the sari, like emerald green, deep maroon, or classic black, to anchor the drape. Your jewelry requires equal discipline. You need structural defined pieces like antique gold or kundan so they do not compete with the heavy pattern of the silk. A Rangkat demands to be the uncontested focus of your look. It rejects versatility and requires absolute simplicity everywhere else. With the structural differences and styling rules established, we can map these trade-offs directly to your lifestyle. This decision tree flowchart breaks it down based on your core purchasing goal, starting with your absolute priority. If you are an heirloom purist, prioritizing generational value and historical authenticity, we follow this first path. Your recommendation is the pure silk kattan woven rangkat. The labor justifies the extreme cost to secure a definitive piece. If you are a contemporary celebrant attending a lengthy event, we branch toward a priority of draping ease. The recommendation lands on khadi chiffon or organza weaves, securing visual impact without the physical exhaustion of heavy silk. Finally, if you are an aesthetic admirer requiring a lower financial barrier, we take the path toward accessible aesthetics. Your best choice is the table-dyed rangkat. It provides organic beauty through a legitimate artisanal process, bypassing the handloom premium. The survival of the rangkat technique is tied directly to centuries of dedicated tradition maintained along the Ghats of Varanasi. It is an uncompromising piece of art that demands patience from the weaver who creates it and strict discipline from the person who wears it. Whether you choose an architectural loom-woven masterpiece or a soft table-dyed drape, making the right investment comes down to matching the reality of the fabric's construction to the reality of your life.